Good morning. Hope you're well on this Tuesday. Which you might have noticed that St Helier has been a little bit quieter these past few weeks. I'm not talking about fewer people going to the shops, because actually when I've been in, town has been pretty busy. I'm more talking about the sounds which sail through the streets. Well, they've been silenced. Busking has effectively been banned. The parish of St Helier has temporarily suspended all busking permits, it says, following coronavirus guidelines. Well, Peter Smart is from the Five Brass Souls band. Morning to you, Peter. So how did you find out the news then?
Well, personally, I found out about it on Facebook with some posts which were being sent round to the musicians groups which are on that medium.
So was it a bit of a shock to you then? Had you been busking before this?
No, it wasn't a shock. It's ever since we've been in this situation, it's been a difficult area, because you have had advice from the States to say that it is discouraged, but it hasn't been banned. And so, every time you go out, there's been a little bit of uncertainty, I think is the best way to describe it, as to really what's going on. And listening to Vicky and having read the email that she sent out to various people, I don't disagree with anything she's put in there. I think it's right. And I do have to say, from this point on, at least we have some clarity about what we should and we shouldn't be doing, because there are so many viewpoints to it all. And I think a bit of clarity, a bit of leadership that Vicky's shown in taking this through has been the right thing to do. And
actually, she's calling for clarity, isn't she? I think there's specific concerns surrounding singing and woodwind instruments in particular.
Yeah. And you can look at the science of all of this and say, well, that works and that is bad and this is okay. You have sympathy for everybody who actually is in that particular area, whether it's completely banned or whether it's okay, but it's banned because it seems to be the same. It is a really confusing area. And I think just by saying, look, until we have some real clarity, either from higher up or even on a medical side, then the right thing to do is just say, yes, it's got to stop until we know what's going on. I mean, I was listening to your news broadcast this morning, and 90% of the conversation is about the spread of the virus in the UK. Precision lockdowns to stop the economy, imploding. Is such a difficult area, and to be honest, for me personally, and I think for most of the people in the band, this is just a storming and a collecting bucket that we're talking about here. And we just have to abide by and pretty much get on with our lives with this really difficult situation.
There are some musicians who are unhappy about this, though, aren't there? Because they've got their permits, and they're not technically breaking any laws. They're not technically doing anything wrong. It's strongly discouraged. And I suppose the counter argument is, well, people in town can wear a mask and they can protect themselves that way. What do you make of those sorts of arguments?
Well, look, another point that Vicky raised, and I was going to bring up anyway, is, and I see this when we have played in town, and we've been playing in town, by the way, for almost 20 years now. We're probably one of the longest serving bands doing this. And busking has become a lot more popular over the past few years. But one thing that does happen when you have a band which is reasonably good and is large, say our size and upwards, it creates a bottleneck in town as people stop to listen and put money in the collecting box and so on. And so all of a sudden, it doesn't matter whether you are playing a guitar or playing a brass instrument where there's negligible, aerosol effect coming out of the bell. You are creating a crowd. And I think that's one of the major concerns. So, you have to, stand back from your own self-interest and say, well, what are we actually doing here? And if that is the case, then you have to say, well, actually, it's probably right that we are asked not to play for the interim period.
It only seems to be, or to apply rather, in St Helier, though. We know of bands who have been busking freely in other parishes. Well, do you think that makes sense? I've heard of somebody playing in Waynay. There's a bit more space there and less likely for there to be a bottleneck, maybe?
Well, yeah. What we decided a long time ago, because we are a relatively small group, but during the early part of the lockdown, when we got over that initial phase, we met and we decided that we would rehearse outside. We saw a choir did a rehearsal outside on the beach, a large choir, and they were really socially distanced. So we said, well, let's do that. And so we decided we would play down at La Roque Harbour. Initially, we wanted to play in Robin Bay, which is just over the wall, but our bass player couldn't get his tuba over the harbour wall. So we went along the sea wall. There's nobody around, and we started playing there. And it was just literally a means of rehearsal, keeping your lip in, because, playing a brass instrument, you've got to keep your lip in. It's a bit like being an athlete. If you don't play, you just lose so much. And that's what we started doing, and it actually turned out to be really good fun for us. And you had a couple of people come along listening. We were back the next week, and then a few more people, and so on. And so over the course of the summer, we've played in various open air locations, which have been clearly very open areas where we've been able to be socially distanced from ourselves, of course, and also from the general public. And that's been our aim. And, it's worked out well on that basis. And that I can't see that there is a problem with doing that, playing on a beach where there's thousands of people actually on the beach, doing their thing, but there's lots and lots of space. I really can't see the problem with that. And that's the way we decided to go down.
It must be great to be able to play together in that instance as sort of a way around it in that sense. But you must be missing being in town, playing the kind of favourites, the classics. When do you think you'll be back in King or Queen Street?
I just don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. How long is that piece of string? We just don't know, and we can't say. And there's no point in getting hot under the collar about it with anyone or anything, because this is nobody's fault. And I've got the most respect for the people who are trying to direct the island along the right path. It's an impossible job, and we have no political viewpoint. We're apolitical. We don't make any statements. We don't disagree or agree with anything. But all I can say is that hey ho, here we are. We've got 17 cases of the disease in the island, and it's been kept at a very, very low level for a long period of time. So all you can say is somebody's doing something right. And to go against that advice when you have this little bubble of clear, COVID clearness almost, they are doing something right. And so I think it'd be wrong to go against the advice.
Yeah, and remind me, what sort of is the one or handful of songs that really set, pre-COVID days, that would get people to kind of stop and put their hands in their pockets? Because as you say, you've been doing this for a long time now, haven't you?
Oh well, look, we've got a pad of something like 300 numbers, and apart from one or two, they're pretty much all all playable. But I think rather than the old favourites, is maybe to look at some of our. We've got some newer charts which we've been looking at, and we got an arrangement of something called Havana by Camila Cabello, featuring Young Thug. It says on the title of the music.
I know the one.
We got it last week, and it's a great chart, and we started playing that. So that's been a favourite. We like to play it. The audience seem to like it when we've been playing it down the beach, because it's a little bit summery. And then some other things like what it means to miss New Orleans, Autumn Leaves. They're the kind of numbers that people would know. Tin Roof Blues, and then the music to the James Bond film that started off in New Orleans. Dixieland Funerals, we play it. That's always very popular. Caravan. The numbers just go on and on and on. So we got something for pretty much every occasion.
Yeah, I was just about to say there's something for everyone. Peter, really nice to speak to you. Thank you for your time. Stay safe. Peter Smart there. He's a regular busker around the island. But as we've been hearing this morning, you won't be hearing him on the streets of St Helier for a while. The parish has suspended all of its busking permits because of coronavirus guidelines.